My name's Clare Collins, and I'm a Professor of Nutrition and Dietetics at the University of Newcastle. Clinical guidelines for the treatment of obesity are currently in development, and these new guidelines will be an essential tool to guide clinical care. We can't expect doctors, healthcare professionals, and individuals to address the challenge of comprehensive treatment without guidelines. And these need to be informed by the best available evidence, clinical standards, and offer treatment options for people living with obesity. But we actually have had guidelines before. The 2013 clinical guidelines for obesity have now been rescinded for the past 6 years, and we're keenly waiting the new ones. When obesity guidelines are created and printed, and that can be a process that takes years, but there's no funding set aside to develop the educational programs, clinical tools, the decision-making algorithms, and the supporting resources and the funding to actually roll them out, then all of the work is actually wasted. Doctors, health professionals, and the public really are left with an intangible resource, and it's been wasted, all 230 pages. There is a risk that the current guidelines won't be used if they're not shared widely and easily. If the resources are not there so that clinicians can tap into them in real time, they're busy and they need to be able to access them within a consultation. Guidelines and training are also needed to address the issue of obesity stigma. And we've already heard about that this morning. And it really is a major barrier to accessing the care that's needed and appropriate types of care. This really must be considered in not just the development of the guidelines, but the educational resources and the tools for healthcare professionals. Just imagine if you had a family history of bowel cancer. You're experiencing some symptoms and you were worried. You went to see your GP and said, should I be referred to a specialist? Should I have a colonoscopy? But the advice you were given, because there were no guidelines, was that instead, how about if you cut down on your processed meat, moderate your total meat intake, come back sometime in the future, and we'll revisit whether or not you should be referred on for a colonoscopy. Now, you might think, well, that is ridiculous. That would never happen. And clearly that is crazy. Yet this is the experience for many people who are living with obesity now. No connection to current available effective treatment is provided. So we're calling on for greater resources for the implementation and dissemination of the new guidelines once they're here. The healthcare system needs to be able to deliver high quality, evidence-based, multidisciplinary care. And this needs to be supported by the specific resources, including a training hub that will have these tools, these algorithms, and importantly, access to education on how to use the clinical guidelines. This will help translate the major investment that's underway in developing these new evidence-based guidelines and make it meaningful that people, when they touch base with the healthcare system, they'll be directed to effective clinical treatment for obesity-related health and well-being.